I've just seen the interview with Norman Finkelstein and Norman Pierce. Was kind of looking forward to it. Was much calmer than I expected. Now, looking back, I kind of understand why it was so calm. They were going against expectations. I think Pierce wanted to avoid being criticized for shouting him down, but he also realized that he would never be able to shout him down. So here he went the peaceful way because he knows who he's dealing with. So I've actually met Norman Finkelstein. I met him in 2012 in a very small coastal town, in my opinion, the nicest one in Belgium, Bredene, it's called. It's 4 kilometers from Ostende, and it's the one of the few places where there are not too many apartments right on the beach or close to the beach. So it's very looks very nice. There's also a nudist beach, but I've honestly never gone there. But it's famous for having a nudist beach. And every year in September, somewhere near the end of September, the Belgian Communist Party, officially they are not communist, but if you know them, they are communist. They organize a festival called Manifesta, and some usually lesser known music bands and singers come, and they organize debates, which, in my opinion, are not really debates because everybody on the panel usually already agrees with like what needs to be done. So usually they are connected to this party, or they're at least very very much to the left of the political spectrum. So not really debates, more like talks between people who sort of see things the same. And to my surprise, Norman Finkelstein was there. He gave a talk, and I was asked to interview him by my boss, the editor in chief of this communist newspaper, which is not officially communist. So yeah, we can maybe I should do a different talk just about this party. And we met somewhere backstage, me and several of my colleagues, volunteers actually. And he back then, now I see he's aged very much. You know, he's getting older. But back then he looked really good, and he had a tan, and he was very nicely dressed, much better dresser than any of us. And he had an assistant, a beer. I remember. I think, and I was supposed to interview him about Palestine, of course, but for some reason he was really passionate about his ideas about Obama, and he kind of opened my eyes because I was kind of back then I was still kind of positive about Obama, and he said Obama is the most narcissistic president the U.S. has ever had, and that like caught my attention. Uh, Finkelstein can be very abrasive. When the interview started, I introduced myself, of course, and I said that we were uh, working for a workers magazine, factory workers, and he immediately said, Nobody who works for a workers magazine has ever talked to a worker." But my father was a factory worker, and all my colleagues had at least one parent who was a worker, and they all confirmed this. And then he was like a little bit like, okay, okay. And then I think he asked me, and what other magazines do you read? And I remember mentioning Mother Jones, Freedom Road, and I think Democracy Now. And he immediately said, Mother Jones is total shit, something like that. So he I don't know if he enjoys being abrasive, but he really doesn't care, just stating his opinion. And because we were backstage, he also asked, so who's gonna kill me? And I said, it's always the one you least expect. And he was sitting, and his assistant was standing next to him, and he looks up to her and says, "So you are it. You're going to kill me." So that's my experience with Finkelstein. We had a really good conversation. Um, something kind of something that struck me as a little bit strange was that at this festival there were lots of women with short hair, which is quite common in Belgium. Like, a little bit older women, they wear their hair short, not all of them, but a lot of them. And he commented on that and said that he liked that, which to me was a I don't know why he saw that as a positive thing. It was at the end of the interview, so I didn't ask more, but that struck me like, why strange that he spots that and that it's that that it's something positive in his eyes. No. And so this interview, um, quite quite tame. Piers Morgan asks him about his initial statements about the 7th of October, and you can check it on Substack. He didn't delete it. He compares this attack to breaking out of a concentration camp. He goes on to say that he has a lot of sympathy for them, that he understands them, that they've been ignored, that they've been oppressed, that lots of people in Gaza have suffered from severe food shortages. And he reminds Piers Morgan of a time. I think that Piers Morgan was on a jury in some talent show, and there was one lady, and she had long been undiscovered as a talent, and when asked, she says, "Yeah, it took so long for me to be discovered." And Finkelstein says that he could see uh, in Morgan's eyes that his eyes narrowed and that he could feel the empathy that Morgan had for that woman. So he also at the end of the interview he reminds Piers of this moment and that there's humanity in Piers Morgan. So it was very like it was almost like camaraderie or some sort of two enemies almost like coming together and smoking a peace pipe. Um, and then he also says at the start that he had to check what the white abolitionists said about Nat Turner's slave revolt. I don't know if everybody is familiar with that, but I think it happened in 1831, or thereabouts. And Nat Turner rose up together with other slaves, and they killed a bunch of people, and I think also children. And eventually, Nat Turner was caught, or he gave himself up. He went into hiding, and I suppose that he was executed. So and these white abolitionists didn't condemn that, and he mentions one of the most famous abolitionists, William Lloyd Garrison, and Garrison didn't condemn it. So um, I guess Finkelstein takes his cue from Garrison and also doesn't want to condemn this attack. And then Pierce doesn't press him too much there. I mean, imagine that somebody else says that. I've seen other people not immediately condemn Hamas, and then Pierce goes nuts. But here, oh, okay, he kind of lets it slide. And Finkelstein shares something about his mom, um, who survived the Holocaust, and Finkelstein says, I always accepted that my parents, they hate the Germans. They can never say one good thing about the Germans, and he never like tried to change that. And he asked her, how did you feel about Nazi Germany being bombed? And she said something like, when they were being bombed, we thought, okay, we are going to die, but at least we take some of them with us. So he seems to compare the victims of the Holocaust with Palestinians. So it's this same sort of, they're entitled to have the same reaction. I think he wants to say, and I didn't feel like Piers Morgan really pressed him on that, and it was a very short interview. And then uh, right after the interview, Douglas Murray comes on, who is, I suppose, still in Israel, and he's visibly angry. I swear I could almost feel the anger also towards Piers Morgan that he had softballed that interview. And Douglas Murray says that he can't accept that Finkelstein uses his parents to kind of justify what happened on October 7th, and he reminds Piers of some of the most gruesome details of that attack. And he's visibly outraged. I've seen him before. I didn't know him before October 7th, but he's been one of the most pro Israel voices, I think, in journalism. I've also read an article that was sent to me by a friend where where he describes how the IDF is really trying to avoid civilian casualties. Um, I think other journalists have been more critical of that, but clearly it seems that Douglas Murray was not completely okay with the way Piers Morgan did this very sweet, nice, chubby, like how to say it, um, yeah, like cozying up to Finkelstein. So that was it, I think. Thanks for watching.